So let me show you some amazing numbers. The support for gay marriage in America back in 1996, when Gallup first started polling on it, was only 27%. May of 2014, this year, it's now up to 55%. Because that's a sea change. That's amazing. Now, there's many different reasons for that, but one of the reasons is that people started realizing that they know gay people. Sometimes they're in their family, they're among their friends, they're among their co-workers, and once you know a gay person, you're far less likely to discriminate against them. Now, Dave Fleischer is an activist who moved to California after Prop 8 and did a great deal of polling in California, surveys, etc., to find out why people voted the way they did. And in the midst of that, they found out something interesting that they didn't intend to find out. So here are the three things that were on the sheet for the canvassers. They would go and knock on people's doors, thousands of doors, and first they'd ask them two questions. How do you feel about marriage for gay and lesbian couples? And then, can I ask you why you feel that way? Now, optional in the canvasser card was insert brief personal statement. Now, a lot of the canvassers happened to be gay. Now, a lot of them were straight as well, of course. They just cared about the issue. But the gay canvassers noticed that when they started talking about their personal stories, people's opinions started changing. Now, on average, they'd have conversations that were 20 minutes long. So this was not a simple, oh, by the way, I'm gay. And a guy goes, oh, okay, fine, then I'm in favor of gays. Right? And I'm sure there's some of that too, because here he is, he's faced with a human being. It makes it harder to discriminate against that person as you're talking to them. But that's the entire point. So what they wanted to do was study this a little bit more. So, this was just their informal experience, although it was with a ton of people. But what they did was they brought in Donald Green from Columbia University, he's a political scientist, and then Michael LaCour from University of California at LA, in other words, UCLA, he's a graduate student here. And they did surveys, okay? And here's the results. In follow-up surveys with those households, average opinion in favor of gay marriage, now measured a 100-point feeling thermometer, jumped by double digits among those who talked about same-sex marriage with gay canvassers, nearly twice the change among those who talked about gay marriage with straight volunteers. So it turns out the anecdotal evidence that they had earlier was confirmed by these surveys. So they would go and talk to them initially and get a sense of where they were, and then they would go back and talk to them, and then they would have conversations, some of them would, about their experience as a gay person. And they found out that it made a huge difference, double-digit difference. But something else also happened. In follow-up calls, LaCour also surveyed people living with voters who met the volunteers. The results were astonishing. Those people's opinions changed. The conversations that took place after the canvassers left seemed to be almost as powerfully mind-changing as the originals. The effects were still measurable a full year later. So it wasn't just that somebody who felt uncomfortable when a canvasser said, oh, I'm gay, and they didn't want to offend them, but they still held on to their core beliefs. No, up to a year later, they had changed their beliefs, and they had even changed the beliefs of other people that they lived with. Look, it is super interesting, and it goes to show something that we've been arguing on the show for a long time, which is it's important to know the people you're talking about, because it leads to less stereotyping, less discrimination, and overall, honestly, less hatred in the world, okay? Because if you know someone who's gay, it's harder to say, I don't like that guy. That guy is wrong. That guy is evil. That guy is sinful. Now, it's also true in other contexts, certainly true about Jews in this country. There was terrible anti-Semitism. Now, a lot of Americans have had contact with Jews, and many other reasons as to why things have gotten better. But last week we showed you a poll where Jews finished actually #1 as the religion most liked by Americans, okay? Now, unfortunately in America, not a lot of people have had contact with Muslims. So it's still easy to say they're the other, right? As people have been saying about gays for a long time. So I think that's why it's important to get to know one another in all these different contexts. Because once you know someone, it's harder to hate them. So there's a really interesting study showing that in the context of gay Americans, and also a powerful reason why more people need to come out. Because the more that come out, the more people know gay Americans, the more likely they are to be accepting of them.